What is up, guys? The D to the Tech to the Phantom Boy here. Today I am back with another video, and yes, I do know it's been a long time, and you guys can roast me in the comments. I would have said you guys would hacked sent me messages on the Insta, but sadly my Insta got hacked. But don't worry, we dealt with the problem, and so by the time this video is up, my Instagram will be back, and so I will link all of those in the description box down below, and also you will see them closer to the end of this video. But anyways, right now what we're going to be doing is my long awaited video from September. Yes, I'm clearing out the log, the history of phones, and I'm not going to be doing everything because it's going to be long, so I'm just going to give you a shortened version. Let's get into the video. Okay, guys, let's get into the video. So, in 1973, Motorola was the very first company to mass produce its mobile phone. But understand that before we even get to mobile phones and when they were mass produced, we also had mobile phones, the early mobile phones being referred to as 0G or zero generation mobile phones, while most of us here in this generation currently have either 3G, 4G, and even 5G phones. But that's just the basic introduction to mobile phones. But let me share with you some big major landmarks leading up to that event. Alright, so in 1946, the very first call was made on a car radio phone in Chicago. Understand that this isn't call as in phone call, but radio telephone calls, which means calls that you can make from your telephone. Well, not quite, in a radio telephonish system in your car. That was back in 1946, and the very first calls were made back in Chicago. And this was available due to the radio frequencies available, and the service quickly reached its capacity. Now we fast forward one decade later to 1956, where the very first automated mobile phone system for private vehicles was launched in Sweden. The device to install in the car used a vacuum tube type technology with a rotary dial and weighed 40 kg. Now that is the one that we would usually see in the 1950s, 1940s movies where, they picked up and I'm not going to this. My editor will place it, the photo, I'm not going to. Anyways, a total of 125 subscribers between Stockenberg and Gotham subscribe. Just like how I personally think that if you haven't, you should subscribe to this YouTube channel. Just me saying. But now, as we go into 1969, we have the Nordic Mobile Telephone Group, the NMT Group, was established. It included engineers representing Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And this group was created to develop a system that, unlike the systems being introduced in the United States, focused on accessibility. Now, as we fast forward to the big year 1973, Dr. Martin Cooper, general manager at the Motorola Communication System Division, made the very first public mobile phone call on a device that weighed 1.1 kg. I'm just going to take a pause here to show you. In 1946, it was the radio telephone that was used, and now in 1973, we have the mobile phones, the handheld phones, while the radio telephone system back in Chicago, that was used in Chicago first in 1946, were just those that could be used in vehicles. Now, fast forward to 1982, where engineers and administrators from 11 European countries gathered in Stockholm, Sweden, to consider whether a Europe wide digital cellular phone system was technically and politically possible. And the group adopted the Nordic model of the cooperation and laid the foundation of an international standard. Fast forward 3 years later to 1985, where comedian Ernie Wise made the first public mobile phone call in the UK from outside the Dickens Pen pub. Sorry, let me say that again. The Dickens pub in St. Catherine's Dock. So I cannot pronounce these words and I hate. Alright. Anyways, Vadafoam's HQ. I don't know what that means or whatever that's. And he made the call in full Dickian's coachman's car guard. I don't know all of this. I don't understand. Anyways, 1992 has the very first ever SMS message was sent in the UK. Neil Papworth, age 22 at the time, was a developer for a telecom contractor tasked with developing a messaging service for Vodafone. The text message read, "Merry Christmas." Just like how I'm wishing you right now, everyone watching, a Merry Christmas. It was sent to Richard Jarvis, a director of Vodafone, who was enjoying his office Christmas party. Just like when we reach whatever amount of subscribers you guys will let me reach, we're going to have a jolly Christmas party. Please subscribe. But as we continue now and fast forward another 6 years to 1998, the very first downloadable content sold to mobile phones was the ringtone launched by Finland's Radio Linja. I hope I got that right. Anyways, laying the groundwork for an industry that would eventually see the crazy frog ringtone that would rack up a total earnings of $500 million and beat stadium filling sub rockers Coldplay to the number one spot in the UK charts. No, we're not finished. We're going to 1999, where emojis were first invented in, I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, in Japan. Unlike their all text predecessors, emoticons or emojis are just pictures. The same year in the UK sees the first shots fired in a supermarket price war with Texco, Sainsbury, and Asda paying and Go phones at discounted prices. For the first time, you could pick up a mobile phone for just under £40. And while we're still on the topic of 1999, we have BlackBerry. And the very first BlackBerry phone was also unveiled in 1999. It was famous for its super easy email service, and BlackBerry handsets were seen as the ultimate business tool, which allowed users to read and respond to emails from everywhere. This led to 83% of users reading and responding to work emails while on holidays, and over half admitted to sending emails even on the toilet, winning the manufacturer the nickname Crackberry. Now, as we are in 2000, we get to the Nokia 3310, which automatically exploded on shop shelves. Naturally, it was unscathed and it went on to sell 126 million units. Over in Japan, the very first commercially available camera phone was the Sharp J SH04, launched back in November 2000. The only slang you could use it in Japan. Europe wouldn't get its very first camera phone until the arrival of the Nokia 6750 in 2002. Now, as we go on to 2003, the 3G standard started to be adopted worldwide, kicking off the age of the mobile internet. Yes, this was paving the way for the rise of smartphones. Now, the Hong Kong based Hutchinson Whampoa owned three brand offered the first 3G connection network. The UK, among other countries, staying very much on brand 3G. A trio of handsets, namely the Motorola A830, the NEC E606, and the NEC E808. Now we have, so fast forwarding to 2007, where the whole world of mobile phones and smartphones exploded, where the iPhone finally made its debut. Available available on the O2 at launch in the UK and priced at an eye-watering $499. Nokia CEO confidently dismissed it as a little more than a cool phone that wouldn't translate columns inches into market share. And in 2008, the very first Android phone turned up in the form of the T-Mobile G1, now dubbed as the OG of Android phones. This phone has come a long way from high-end Android smartphones to the ones that we use today. Not least because it retained a physical keyboard and a BlackBerry style trackball for navigation. This year also saw both Apple's App Store and Android Market, later renamed Google Play Store, paving the way for our modern day app culture and creating a $77 billion industry. Now in 2010, the Samsung launched its very first Galaxy S smartphone. Unsurprisingly, former Android giant HTC, the Samsung Galaxy S range is still the most popular Android brand. Now, as we fast forward 2 years later to 2012, where text messages first arrived, most people didn't think they'd catch on. And as we're forwarding a couple years later, let's just say that we all have. Well, anyone who has been taught, no, that's basically one of the newest things everyone has been taught. But anyways, as I am coming down to a close, 10 years, 10 years after we have the iPhone being released, Apple released its buttonless phone without any home button, nor something like it has never been seen before, where you could have your home screen and your and you have your where you could have your home screen and everything else in between controlled in the display of your phone. So now all you had were the physical volume buttons, power buttons, but you no longer had a home button like the previous iPhones. And you also didn't have any buttons from the OLED display, but you just had a line which couldn't pretty much control everything. Thus setting off a chain reaction, and Apple has paved the way for more screen times and more time on the screen. Well, not fully time, but more inches as it was previously said, more inches on the screen. And it all started 10 years after Apple released its very first phone in 2017. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is brief, just a brief synopsis of what happened and how we got from where we started to where we came. I have to shout out Sir Alexander Graham Bell, Steve Jobs, and all of these people. Because it wasn't for you guys, we would have not had where we came. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Big up to yourselves in Jamaican language. You guys can catch me on Instagram at the_tech phantomboy. You guys can also catch me. Where can you guys catch me? I don't even know. YouTube, Facebook. You guys can also Gmail me at dtechphantomboy@gmail.com. Without any further ado, I will see you guys later. Peace.